questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on for deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, welcome back to Tactical. The season's over. You're thinking, hold on, what's happening here? Why are these guys back again? There's no tactics to analysis.
It's the pre-season versus Cray Wanderers. We're pre-doing Cray Wanderers tactics.
So this is the pre-season Tactical for what's going to happen in America. No, I'm joking with you guys. What this is this is going to be a more in-depth comparison. I know there's lots of videos and stuff already out there saying, the difference between Glasner and Hodgson and what happened at the end of the season and yada yada yada. But basically, we're gonna go over that. Like, obviously, there's certain things that you just have to talk about, and this is just one of them. Just the complete switch up between Hodgson and Glasner. And I think that on face value, the difference that he's made is incredible. But I think it's further emphasized the further that you look into it. And I think, I don't know about you, Dan, but the actual more I looked into the numbers and the clips, it actually showed a lot more of what Glasner's actually done, a little bit deeper than face value. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I know at the beginning people were maybe a bit tetchy about how Glasner was doing, but in my opinion, just watching the games, you could see we were so much better, even though we weren't necessarily getting the results to begin with. But I think the numbers really demonstrate that we were performing. The eye test kind of backed it up as well. And lo and behold, we did eventually start picking up loads of points. And obviously, we finished above a certain team on the South Coast who seemed to think they were a lot better than us. So.
Yeah, it was going to be goal difference, but they actually lost. So, I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter as a video of this like professional speed walker celebrating that she's won the race, and then some woman just walks past her.
Yeah,
it's like, what is this in football terms? Brighton thinking they finished above us.
No, absolutely.
But I feel like when we do this, I feel like we do need to talk about Hodgson. We also need to go a little bit more in depth into that as well. So I think what we'll try and do is we'll try and keep it as chronological as possible. Try and go from the start of the season and then work our way through. So obviously at the start of the season, Mr. Roy Hodgson was our manager. Signed a full year's deal at the end of last season. I think he did really well at the end, which is probably why he was given that option. In the last 10 games that season, we were incredible, like similar to what we did this season, really.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing we signed him thinking it was going to carry it on, and you know how that went. But I think that one thing that we need to talk about, though, which is glossed over heavily when talking to anyone about Roy Hodgson this season, is that the first 6 or 7 games of the season, we actually kept that form up. Because, for example, in pre-season, granted it's pre-season, you can't take anything from it, but we still only lost to Sevilla on pens, which was a very good game. I think we only got beaten because Rakitic scored a madness, and Rakitic was one of the best midfielders in the world a few years ago. Let's not forget that. We beat Lyon 2-0, who are now in the Europa League. We got a good draw with Bromby, who are historically a European team year in, year out. And also beating Watford don't hurt either, does it? Oh, Dan, are you gone? I think Dan has disappeared. Yeah. Oh, well. Dan is gone. Yeah. So, but when we was in preseason, we tried many different things. Was doing 4-4-2, was doing 4-3-3, was doing 4-2-3-1, was doing a lot of things. But things they were working really because preseason was pretty effective. Oh, I don't like myself being full screen. Can I go smaller? I want to go smaller. And that's not a height joke. So if you're wondering, no. No. Yes. Looks like they're staring from the STATMAN. Of course, his laptop has just killed itself. That's what he just told me. But Hodgson had many different strategies. Let's say, like he tried different formations, and we sort of picked and choose depending on what happened. Like we started the season 4-4-2, and we actually did pretty well. We got a few wins, a few draws, and very narrow losses. I think we did actually have some really good results this season. I think under Hodgson specifically, we had a great 1-0 win away to Man United, which was in that 4-2-3-1 formation. We had a good win against Wolves in a 3-2 at home, which was in a 4-3-3 formation, and also a 1-0 loss to Arsenal, which I think we ended that game in a 4-4-2 because I was actually going for it at the end because I think it was only a penalty. But he sort of changed the formations as we went because of injuries. Like he had Czech injured for a little while. Like I think he was injured for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then he came back and we started playing again. He had Elise who had his hamstring injury, I think it was, like throughout the season as well. You had Eze getting injured here and there. You had Edouard getting injured here or there. I think Anderson got injured like just after the Man United game, if I remember correctly. So Hodgson was strung with injuries. Like there was a point in the season where I was thinking, how the hell has he done so well with so many injuries? Because I think, let me see if I've got it here. Yeah, so in the first 6 games of this season, we were actually on 11 points. And that's a really good return for a team like us, especially with having injuries. And I can't tell you how many injury crises we had this season. I think it was about 3, 4, maybe even 5. Just looking at the criteria of the players that were injured, it was pretty mad, really. Forgot Czech even exists, to be honest. Yeah, we'll get to the Luton game, but just thinking of Chet Decore and Adam Wharton right now is just making my mind very happy, let's say. But yeah, so we actually had some good performances, like the Arsenal game, for example. It was only 1-0 and it was a pretty dodgy penalty. Like that should have been a draw, in my opinion. But you know, it is what it is. It don't go your way sometimes, but game is game, innit? And I think the thing that was annoying all of us is just the absolute lack of mentality. It was just like now we are mental monsters, but then it was just so negative. I feel like Hodgson was setting up the team saying, we're playing against Forest, I'm just using the Forest example, playing against Forest, let's try not to lose. We've heard this before from Liverpool players saying that that's what he did at Liverpool, who was historically one of the biggest teams in the world. When he took them over, he was one of the best teams in the country, and he was still worried about other teams instead of trying to impose himself. And that was just a Hodgson issue. I think that because of his age, and granted he's been in the game for so long, but I just don't think that his mind was mentally there to adapt to the new game. And I don't think it has, even to the end of his tenure with us last time, actually. Because at the end of then, we were playing exactly like how we did towards the halfway point of this season. It was just dead and really boring to watch. Hello, mate.
Sorry, I've got the blue screen again, but a different error this time. So that's normally a good sign. But anyway.
So I don't know if you was listening along while you was trying to get it going or not.
No, I'm on my hotspot, so
I'll give you a rundown. We did well in pre-season.
Yeah.
Hodgson had to switch between many formations because of all the injuries. So he started the season at 4-4-2, then moved to 4-3-3, and then got to 4-2-3-1, where he sort of got a few points here and there and just stuck with it no matter what. Even when our players came back, he still stuck with that formation. We had some good performances this year. Beating Man United away 1-0, beating Wolves at home 3-2, only losing to Arsenal 1-0 off a dodgy penalty, which were pretty good performances. 11 points off the first 6 games this season, which is actually a very good return.
Yeah, and I think actually when we played Man United or after we beat them, we were 7th.
So we was looking good at that point in the season. And then I was starting to talk about how sort of after then, it felt a little bit like we had quite a few points. Then Hodgson started going back into his negative mentality again. We started going into games looking not to lose instead of trying to win. And that's sort of where I got to at this point. Is there anything you want to touch on the points before that?
No, I completely agree with all of that. I know I can see a couple comments saying exactly the same thing. I think to begin with, I think we did quite well. But I think, injuries just kind of ravaged us and kind of really stunted the momentum under Roy. And I think we just never really got that momentum back. And then for me, I thought the big loss, again, because see a couple people in the comments saying it, but I think Sheikh Decore getting injured was the turning point, in my opinion, for that part of the season.
Yeah, because I think even before he actually got the bad injury, I'm sure that he had a few weeks off before then. Like I don't recall him playing in the Man United game, which was before Luton, and I'm sure he was injured for like 2 weeks then. I've got a vague recollection of Anderson getting injured pretty early on into the season, just after he had his good spell.
Mm-hmm.
John Stone and Henderson just sort of kept swapping positions at a time because one of them got injured and the other one was fit, and the other one was injured, the other one was fit. I remember Edouard was injured for a little while as well, when Edouard was Hodgson's number one choice, and that was when we had Dreadful Mateta, let's say.
Dreadful Mateta. Jean-Philippe Dreadful.
And I think we genuinely the whole season, even under Glasner, I think we've had 4 or 5 injury crises, just because of the caliber of player that was getting injured all the time. There was always a first teamer, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think as well, like the fact we've got quite a thin squad anyway.
Yeah,
so obviously
we didn't really bolster in the summer, did we?
No, exactly. And to be honest, the pessimist part of me kind of knew that they were giving the job to Roy, who's already done it before on a really poor budget. So I think that I think the last summer was a bit of a throwaway kind of summer, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to be fair, whilst we're talking about injuries, I don't know how you feel about. Obviously, we don't know how Roy did training, his fitness and stuff. Obviously, we don't know that, but in my opinion, I think the reason why we got so many injuries, so many more, because we have had Roy before and we did get a fair amount of injuries, but nothing I would say was particularly crazy like it was this season. I genuinely believe that a combination of each game, it ended up before the added time rule, each game was on average about 65 minutes ball in play. Whereas obviously now, because of the way it is, it's effectively in play for 90 minutes, regardless of whatever. So that's an increase of about a third of a game. So you're effectively playing an increase of 50%, really. An increase of 50% per game. And I think when you got a manager like Roy, whose tactics are so he's been managing since the 60s. I feel like it's very hard for those tactics to deviate very suddenly like that. And I think that was the source of why we got so many injuries.
Yeah, and Mitch had a great comment here saying that when I said it's always a first team, because Hodgson never changed it, did he? He always made a sub stupid late into the game.
That's true. I remember looking at that one of the TACT actually, like early on, and he made the fewest subs in the league, and it was by a distance as well.
And also, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but showing the fitness as well, which means they really didn't train very well under Hodgson, because I distinctly remember that when Vieira was the coach, that the players were upset because they trained too much. And then the reason why everything got better is because Hodgson started giving them days off, but then potentially might have been giving them too many days off now.
Yeah,
and they got to a point where the fitness just started lacking behind, like really badly.
Yeah, no, 100%.
it got, I think, and it got to a point where we were just concede. Like even this season, we was conceding late goal, even when we was holding on for something.
Yeah,
and it wasn't good enough because I actually had a look at it, and I'll speak about it a little bit more in depth later. But I think up until Hodgson was our manager, so before Glasner this season, we were the team that ran or covered the least distance in the whole Premier League up until that point. And also, I thought, oh, let me have a look. The 5-year spell that Hodgson had before, we were the lowest. We were either the lowest or the second lowest running distance covered team for those 5 years as well.
That's crazy.
Like in a whole season, I think it was 2020. I think it's 2019. I think in the whole season, our team covered 1,500 kilometers, and that's every player that's ever stepped on the pitch. Bearing in mind that I think this season Aston Villa ran over 3,000.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts, really, isn't it? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was something. I think that was a problem we had under Vieira as well.
Yeah,
I think
it was.
And
then with the negative mentality, let's say, then it started coming the really awful results. Just to list a few that came straight to my mind without even looking at it, but I'm sure if I go back, I can find other results. 4-0 Newcastle, 3-2 Everton, 2-1 Luton, and the Luton game is probably the most important game out of the three. Not only do I think it was the worst, the injuries that came out of that game were awful. I want to talk about the first half in that game, because in the first half, we actually had our full 11. Eze, Elise, Decore, Anderson, Gay. Everyone played. And we still couldn't score against Luton. Big problems there. Negative mentality.
Well, I think that kind of, because I know there was a lot of thing about, Glasner's done so well because he had Elise and Eze, but I mean, that's evidence to the contrary, really.
Yeah, that's why I needed to talk about it, because granted, Glasner had them all fit for a lot longer, but the times that Hodgson had them all available, he either didn't pick them all, or they just didn't perform. And is that because of the players themselves, or is it because of the system? And now all we can obviously see is the system. But I think Eze gets taken out, wasn't even given a yellow, and I was sitting there thinking, hold on, that's a massive foul. And he pulls up, he's done his he didn't do his Achilles again, but he stepped down his Achilles. But Decore was the killer, man. And, like, we went from I think it went from like mid-November until Wharton came, until we actually had a proper DM. Like, we were struggling.
And I mean, I remember because that was the point when like you're talking about the change in formations earlier. That was when we tried the. I find it so funny that Roy Hodgson is the guy who invented the rotating centre back. I find that so funny. Like,
the Chris Richards?
Yeah, the Chris Richards experiment. Yeah, the Chris Richards experiment. Yeah, and we'd rotate with like Anderson, Gay, like whenever it made sense to. And I mean,
it never worked.
In hindsight as well, because we've obviously seen, because we saw Gay. I mean, I know Villa were firmly, still hungover, I think. But obviously we saw Gay play in midfield in that day. So that leads me to then wonder back then, why didn't we just play Chris Richards at the back and Gay in midfield? Because Gay looked decent against.
The thing is, I seem to remember me and you both sitting on here and saying, put Anderson in the midfield and put Richards at the back.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense too, because and I think again this was one of the killers of the momentum of what we did all right at the beginning of the season. But I think I think the problem with Richards is that I think he's a brilliant defender, brilliant 1v1 defender, brilliant tackler, brilliant in the air. But I do think if he's got the ball at his feet, unless he's facing forwards already, I don't think he's not the kind of person who's going to turn and make a pass.
I think that was very evident in the Chelsea game because Chelsea didn't press at all. And he had times where he was just standing on the ball in the midfield. He could have dribbled forwards a little bit. He could have passed forwards, but he still passed back. He just has no confidence on the ball in midfield. He just looks so lost.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you can kind of get away with in that situation, you can kind of get away with it if you got, say, a midfielder who's very close to you, who's very good on the ball. But also, again, we didn't really have that either.
No, because he was playing with Hughes.
Yeah.
And that was when Hughes didn't have any confidence. He wasn't playing with a Wharton. He was just playing with Richards. And obviously, they're going to make each other look worse than they actually are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, big up Roy Hodgson to the rotating centre-back.
Yeah. Then, obviously, seeing people putting it in the chat as well. 5-0 to Arsenal. That was probably the killer for the club. But I think for all of us fans, it was way earlier.
Yeah, I think because that was a kind of hand on heart, apart from maybe the first 1 or 2 seasons, maybe towards the end of Pardew, those were the only seasons I was ever worried about relegation. Like since then, I've never been worried. Like when Roy came in, I was never worried. When PV came in, I was never worried, etc. But this season, when we lost 5-0 and it didn't look like Roy was going to get sacked, I genuinely thought we was going to go down.
Yeah, and we have to sit here and say big up to the Fanatics for the banner, because I feel like if the banner didn't come out, Hodgson would probably still be our manager now.
I mean, I to be honest, I still think the only reason Roy wasn't was because he had that emergency, didn't he?
Yeah, that's a conspiracy, though. Do you think that it wasn't an
conspiracy? Palace conspiracies. I mean, to be fair,
Glasner literally signed the same day that he got ill. I think in my opinion, it's a conspiracy. But obviously, the banner was great and it did what it needed to do. But it still took the club 4 more games to actually get rid of it.
Yeah, because Paddy McCarthy was
took
and
within those 4 games, then brings us to the second Elise incident against Brighton.
Oh my God! There were so many horrible moments. There were genuinely so many horrible moments this season.
And the thing is with that is it was a 4-1 loss. We were 3-0 down, and he thought a Michael Elise, which the medical team specifically said is not fit, he thought he could bring us back from 3-0 down. And he did one sprint and went straight off.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Being 3-0 down, like, okay, maybe come on at the end for 5 minutes or something like that. Maybe to give him a run out, perhaps. But a whole half when we're 3-0 down.
Not good.
I mean, again, another Palace conspiracy. Just remember, if you ever do talk about it, put on Twitter #Palace conspiracies and then @Eagle Eye Football, Eagle Eye Ball. Sorry, but I know a couple of people have messaged our old club doctor on Twitter, and let's just say that Roy. It sounded like Roy didn't really tend to listen to the medical staff about what to do and stuff. So take that as you will.
I mean, I do remember after that game, he said that the medical staff told him not to play him, but he went and asked Michael, and Michael said, "I'm good to play." Surely you'd pick the medical staff over the player, because the player's obviously going to want to play no matter what.
Well, yeah. Premier League player driven, they're always going to want to play.
Yeah, so why the hell would you take, at that point, a 21-year-old's... Like, granted, very mature 21-year-old, but still, why would you trust him over a medical professional who's been literally working with him for the last 2 months trying to get him fit? Why would you not take that guy's advice, let's say? But luckily, that was towards the end, and obviously it's very easy to say that his tactics weren't right. There was no passion in the team, like obviously like it was just a bit of a mess. But I do remember that. Let me share my screen a little bit. We'll start doing the madness here. So. Remember, this is how we used to set up 4-5-1, absolute dead football. And I'd just like to say, look at how everyone is standing. Mateta is the only one on his toes. Heels, literally standing still. Heels, and you can't even see Mitchell. They're literally doing nothing here. Newcastle are within our half, which is the space where we should be trying to control the game, and we're literally just letting them have the ball. And we know this from when we beat Newcastle at our place. If you literally push at them, they've got no idea what to do with you. But we were so set on going there and just sitting back and chilling and letting them do what they wanted. We was going to get smashed. Like, I'm happy that the train was cancelled. I'm happy I didn't go because that would have been a long day. That was probably one of the highlights of my season, actually. But the thing I really wanted to talk about is how easy it is for other teams just to break us. This is literally one pass from Shah over the top, and you got I can't remember who. I think this is who's there? I think it's Trippier. Mm-hmm. He literally knocks it here to Murphy, and he goes whack because Henderson's way out of position. But it's just so easy, isn't it? And this is one thing I wrote down specifically. For a defensive-minded coach, why was it so easy to score against us?
Yeah.
How does that make any sense?
No, I agree. At time, towards the end of Roy's tenure, definitely we were far too easy to break down.
For a defensive-minded coach, this is a mess when it comes to defending. He's pointing at him. Ayu's not looking. Henderson's in no man's land. Czech's not even looking. Mark's got two man on him. Mitchell's in no man's land, and it's just a mess. It really is. For, like I said, a defensive-minded coach, absolutely nothing. Here again, no movement, no pressing, no nothing. This is our defensive shape against Luton. What on earth is this?
Pretty terrible.
Do I even need to talk about how bad this is? Or does it speak for itself?
I think that very much speaks for itself. I can't even tell who's meant to be defending there.
Yeah, so remember, this is Lerma. This isn't even Mark. Anderson, Ward, Mitchell. I don't even know where Mark is. And the fact that they could just break away from us. Literally one ball. Down the wing. Klein, Hughes, nowhere to be found.
On the floor.
And look, 4 versus 3 in our half.
In our box.
How dreadful is that? And it just showed the lack of pressing, the lack of ambition. Crazy.
Yeah,
I've got some running stats for you, and I feel like the running stats sort of show the level of pressing that Crystal Palace have done. The guy who's covered the most distance for us in this whole season is Anderson. A centre-back should not be the guy who's travelling the most distance. It should be a midfielder. Granted, I think Anderson probably played the most minutes, but still, he should be a guy that just runs back towards his own goal, really. He shouldn't be having nearly 400 kilometers registered. No way. And also, the whole team all season ran 1,758.52 kilometers in the whole season, which is okay. That's decent. However, 657 of that was just Glasner. So Glasner had 14 games and he ran 650 kilometers, whereas Hodgson had the rest of the season and he only ran 1,000. The laziness, the lack of ambition, the lack of pressing. It's mad.
Do you know who was second? I'm assuming that we were bottom.
Oh, we were way bottom.
That's what I was going to say. Who was second bottom?
I didn't actually look. I think it was Forest actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing that they have a lot more than us then.
The thing is though is that we were 1,007. The next was 2,000. So it was massive jump.
Brilliant. Yeah. So that's a relative comparison. The second bottom team had 2,000.
Yeah, it was literally 300 kilometers more. And if I'm honest, I think it was just time for Roy to go. As you said, he's been managing since the 60s. His tactics were outdated. His managerial style was outdated. He's retired 3 times. I think it's just time for him to go. Granted, he came back and he saved us, but he left a mess behind, and it just needed to happen.
Yeah.
And really, I hope that this experiment really shows any other club, don't even walk anywhere near him. Just let him retire in peace.
Yeah.
Don't even give him the option to go into another job, because that madman will probably take it.
Yeah. I mean, I know I think when he was offered the full season, fairly sure he was quite. I remember reading that he was quite hesitant about taking it, and I think we can see that. So I've actually got, before we move on to Glasner, I've actually got a spreadsheet.
Oi!
No, I was going to try and sing a song, but I thought I don't even know what tune I'm singing, so that didn't make sense.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is my comparison of like-for-like games this season compared to last season. So, I mean, you're having a sneak peek at the total.
Trying to zoom in a bit.
Oh, is it really small? Right,
yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. So this is like-for-like games this season compared to last season. The XG against goals, goal difference, etc., points difference.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Got it all on an individual home and away basis as well. So I made this. So
1 second, Dan. We completely forgot that he lost the plot and started cussing the young players all the time as well.
Oh yeah. But he started cussing the young players, like cussing us. He just did them well.
Yeah. Or Mitch says here, he says, "I want Roy to do punditry now. He's lost. Now he's lost the plot."
So the Chelsea game was the 24th game. So the way we can get a like-for-like comparison using this for Roy only is I'll just delete all the games that are game 25 and after. So if you just bear with me for a sec. But JC, just before what do you think? Do you think Roy in like-for-like games did better or worse than PV did the season before?
Like-for-like games.
Yeah, so as in so if we're playing Arsenal away, it'll be compared to Arsenal away last season, or Brentford at home, it'll be Brentford at home last season, etc. And the relegated teams I just did. So I think I did. Are you
talking about Vieira's first season or the season that Vieira got sacked?
So last season. So it'd be 23-24 compared to 22-23. So his last season.
I would say that Vieira did better.
Okay. So let me just delete these ones. So I think it was game 25, wasn't it? That can go. That can go. This can go. This can go. And then that can go. I believe that's right. So overall, Roy actually I don't know if you can see it. These are the overall totals here on this side here. So Roy actually did worse than PV did. So this is expected goals. So actually, Roy had more expected goals than PV did in his second season. Conceded more, scored more, conceded more. Worst goal difference, obviously, and a points difference of -2. And I mean, we all remember how much we were complaining about Patrick Vieira's second season.
We didn't
How he was
have a
playing.
shot on target most games.
Yeah, didn't have a shot on target. What was it? 4 games in a row or something like that.
3.
3 games in a row. Obviously, he was playing players out of position all over the place. It was terrible football. And I guess that's probably maybe a highlight of how downhill Roy's how downhill it did kind of go. Because even if like you say, actually no, I think to be honest, I think even if you take into account that we started off quite well, yeah, I mean that's not a good look.
No, not
Not
really.
a good look. Anyway, I'll put those back in, and we'll save this for later when we look at Glasner's games.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on, there's a lot of comments. I want to thank everyone in here for watching. 100%. Not all the comments are going to be looked at because me and Dan have got a lot of notes and there's a lot of stuff to get through. So big up everyone, and we'll probably be responding to all your comments when the stream is done. But Lord Everything Trains, big up yourself, says Henderson or Johnstone? This is a quick one for us to answer before we keep going.
I mean, I said it when Henderson signed. I think they're about the same level, both of them. My opinion is that Henderson, I think, is a better shot stopper, but I do think Johnson's better distribution and on the ball. Although, shout out Henderson for that ridiculous long pass common ball game it was. I think it was a Villa game. That was very good. So keep doing that, please, Dean.
Oh, you mean the long throw?
Yeah. And obviously, good luck to Henderson in the Euros as well.
Yeah. I think that if that rule wasn't in place where you had to kick out if the ball was passed to you, if you could pick it up and throw it, I would say there's no question about who I would choose. But obviously the rule's in there to stop time wasting. So I would still choose Johnstone. But the thing is, I can see why Palace might look to sell him because you could probably get 15-20 for him, and we bought him for free, so it's just pure profit.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think Henderson's a little bit younger as well. So I think
Johnstone's 30, if not 31, whereas Henderson's only 26. So
yeah,
we got if he stays, we got a while with him.
Yeah, I think he signed a 5-year deal as well, so he's with us for a while. Before we move on to Glasner, I think it's very important that we have a look at the formation differences. I've put the players which have played in that position the most for each manager. So because Eze and because Elise was injured for pretty much the whole time that Roy was our manager, he's not here at all because he didn't play that much. Whereas if you see on Glasner's side, Mark isn't there because he hardly played under Glasner.
Mm-hmm.
So both of them have still got injuries, but you can if you have a look at just the way that these two teams are set up, you can tell which one is trying to stay compact and stay solid and try and defend. And you can see another one which is a little bit more expansive and one that wants to try and play better football. And I think just looking, even though it means nothing, it's just dots on the screen, you can just see that the formation that Glasner's in just looks a lot more dynamic. It looks like a lot more can happen. It looks like there's a lot less space in between players. It looks like they've got more options.
Yeah.
Like if you look here, for example, for I don't know, let's say Wharton here. Wharton, if you really wanted to, could pass to Michael, Klein, Munoz, Anderson, Hughes, Eze, and Mateta. That's all. All those passes, there's no people in the way. Whereas if you're Decore here, you can really only pass to Mark, Mitchell, Schlupp, and Edward and Eze. You can't get over to this side of the pitch at all, just because it's too congested in the middle. And obviously, you can see with different players, you know the way how they play. Like, you know that Munoz is going to get up. You know that Elise and Eze are going to be moving forward. So you've got a front four already there.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, we sort of move into that.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks a lot nicer. However, here, you'll literally have that.
Yeah. And I think I do kind of vaguely remember Schlupp generally. I'm going to refuse to say it in a certain way because I'll definitely get paused. But he moved more inside, and then I think Roy kind of wanted Mitchell to like try and overlap. Obviously, it never really worked, and we never had any width.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the attempt anyway.
But yeah, like we know from Ayu, he's someone that can hold onto the ball. He's someone that can frustrate opposition, but he's not someone that can pick up the ball and drive at opponents. He's not someone that can beat a man time in, time out. He could do it. He can do it. I'm not saying he can't, but he's not. He can't do it reliably. Let's say he can't just do it on a whim. Whereas Michael Elise can. I reckon that he could dribble past Virgil van Dijk pretty easily.
Oh, yeah,
and people
easily.
probably say he's one of the best centre backs ever in the Premier League. And I would say Michael Elise could dribble around him. If it was 1-on-1, I would back Michael.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But let's go back. Glasner signs. Party time. Big party time. But then we was all sitting there going, who the hell is this guy? Who is he? But Mr. Statman Dan did a nice little thread. I think he released it like a week before he actually signed, saying, "Oh, I'd like this guy," and he actually happens. How was that for you, mate? You just sort of put a feeler out there, and it came true.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I just want to take credit for all the work that's happened since we played Everton. No, I can't. I'm fairly sure there were rumors.
You have to claim Wharton as well. You have to claim Wharton as well because you was talking about this kid for years, literally ages, man.
Well, I'll claim Wharton, but no, I think Glasner was already rumored to be I think that's why I did it on Glasner, just because I think there were some rumors surrounding it. And I know as well, Euro expert mentioned that he might be a good signing for us because obviously Glasner was unemployed at the time. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, the fact is, he's got a fantastic track record. Everywhere he's been, he's done well. Whether it was in the Austrian Bundesliga or the Austrian second division, got that team he was with. I think it was SV Reed or Reed. Yeah, Reed, I think it'd be pronounced. Got them promoted to the Austrian Bundesliga. Then went to LASK. They had their first season in Europe for the first time in God knows how long, under Glasner as well, because he got them there. Then obviously went to Wolfsburg, got Wolfsburg into the Champions League. Left Wolfsburg, went to Eintracht Frankfurt, he was already in the Europa League, but he won the Europa League and then got them to the knockout stage of the Champions League. So he came with massive credentials, and honestly, I'm so glad that we've gone with him as well. And also, I think like his personality, I think just fits so well. Like comparing to another,
I think he's very dry, funny.
Oh yeah, no, he's Austrian, so he definitely is. But comparing to maybe another team who like to maybe sign some, let's say mercenaries who like to jump at and leave at every opportunity.
And
Glasner,
a striker that they bought for 30 million that slags off the manager in a podcast. Have you seen that?
No.
No,
to be fair, it wasn't. That was a bit of a mistranslation. To be fair, he didn't really slag him off.
The clip was very misleading then.
Yeah, the clip. I watched that clip and I kind of roughly translated it. And to be fair, he didn't really slag him off. He was just like, he basically said he's really hard on them and pulls them up a lot, but it drives them to be better. That's what was meant rather than. But yeah, anyway. He's a cowboy, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
but to me, Glasner seems like he's signed because he genuinely believes in the project. He believes that he can make a difference here. He's not just come into the Premier League because he wanted money. I mean, quite easily he could have gone to another team, like he could have gone to a Chelsea or someone like that, but he chose not to. So, maybe he didn't get offered, but yeah. Came in with excellent credential.
And I think also the thing that makes it look even better is a fact that we got him in when we did, because if we waited with Hodgson until this summer, the absolute manager merry-go-round that's going on at the moment, we would have been in the bin. Like, genuinely, we really would have been in the bin, because West Ham probably would have went and got him instead in a bigger stadium, more money.
Yeah.
He could do a lot more with that team probably, and also they're European winners as well.
Yeah.
But
and I think, sorry,
he came to us instead because we wanted to make that change before the season ended.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as well, like having Dougie, and also since Dougie has said that he's staying, or as far as we know, he's staying, them two working together, I think is going to be really, really good.
And I'm
really excited for that.
That even though the January window was a Hodgson window, I still refuse to believe that Munoz was a Hodgson signing.
Oh yeah, no, he did. And to us, and Wharton as well.
And also, I think Wharton is completely a Dougie signing, completely, because at that moment in time, we needed a DM, but we didn't need a starting DM. We needed a loan, but we went and bought him for £20 million. And I think that's because Dougie said, "Look, you need to get." I think there was an interview with Parrish saying that, "Oh, Dougie told me I needed to buy this kid, so I just trusted him." And now look.
Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, like even going to
Rexy's right here. Hodgson wanted Phillips instead of Wharton, didn't they?
Oh, that would have been a disaster. I mean, he hasn't played well at West Ham.
I don't think he's played well since he transferred to City, if I'm really honest.
No, I think injuries have kind of gotten to him, I think.
Mm-hmm. But with Glasner coming in, not only is it a completely different change of formation, so now the change of formation, it made our lack of squad depth turn into having squad depth, which was very nice to see. Definitely. And also a winning mentality. He's a Europa League winner. He's been in the Champions League knockout stages. He's born to win, and he just wants to win games. Yeah. And that's the thing he said when he came in. He says, "I want to win games. I want to score goals."
Absolutely. And I think
he's done exactly that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think with Glasner as well, I think there's another kind of an element that I've considered, but I've never really talked about it too much. But he almost died.
He had a condition.
Yeah,
didn't
he got. I think he got a brain hemorrhage or something. It was something like that. He got a brain hemorrhage, so he almost died. So I think he's also got another angle of perspective of life as well. Whereas obviously a lot of people don't have that. I don't have that. So I think that kind of, when you have that kind of, do you know what I mean? You're not just going to go chasing a bag. You're just you're doing something because you want to make a difference, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, of course. And I think he's sort of got that little bit, even though it's a horrible experience, he's probably got that extra life knowledge, that I guess that extra little bit of wisdom that probably speaks to the younger players a lot more as well, because he seems to be very good with all kinds of players, because he's not the oldest manager in the world. He probably is able to relate and speak to the really young players and the veterans of the squad all at the same time, instead of being like Hodgson, where he's cool with the OGs, but the new Gs he's not that calm with.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's 49, by the way. He'll be 50 in August.
Yeah. But what Glasner's done with that, I think on paper it's a 5-2-2-1, isn't it? You got your 5 defenders, even though you got your 2 wing backs, you got your 2 midfielders, you got your 2 10s, and your striker.
Yeah.
It looks a lot more like 5-2-3 or 3-4-2-1 or whatever you want to call it. 3-4-3 probably makes the most sense. But it's just a complete change of philosophy as well. I know I've spoken about change of mindset. It's positive. It's looking to win games now. But I feel like he's given all the players, even the defenders, the license to express themselves, to be confident on the ball, to try and do something like a little bit of individual brilliance. Like the amount of times that we've seen Will Hughes pick a line breaking pass, you're thinking, that ain't Hughes. Who the hell's that?
Yeah.
Like he's given everyone confidence to express themselves, but he's also given them the opportunity to express themselves. But he said you can do that, but you can't give up your defensive duties. You still have to stand in around about the right place, so we can't get counterattacked on, for example. So his managing style and his way of play is just incredible, because he sort of, I think Wharton said it in his England conference today when they asked him about Glasner. He said it's great. He's a tactical genius. It's so much easier when the manager tells you exactly what he wants you to do, and it's even more amazing when exactly what he tells you to do actually happens within the game. And to have that kind of foresight when managing in a game which is completely random is something that you can't really put a price on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He definitely reads games very well. Like, I feel like, apart from the odd one here and there, I feel like his subs have been very, very good as well. Like, and they've been again, another difference between him and what we saw early in the season, where we saw more reactive substitutions, but now we see a lot more proactive ones. Like, the game's not going our way, rather than going a goal down. And
we actually saw a half-time sub against Bournemouth, I think it was, when we was losing 1-0.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, hold up, half-time sub? What do you mean?
Yeah. And also, like, I can't remember what game it was, but I remember he brought off Eze after like 55 minutes or something like that, because he was he dropped a couple stinkers. And I think after that, he was like bang back in form. So he uses them very well. And I think the thing as well, like, they're meaningful subs as well. They're not just subs for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. Like they're meaningful. Like, they're looking to either change the game or freshen legs or something like that. And I think with Roy, sometimes he used to make so few subs, and sometimes they were so predictable and just for the sake of it.
Yeah, like I'm sure. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was Liverpool game when we were 2-1 down, and then I think Hodgson went to take off like Mitchell or something to put Mateta on up top with Edouard, and then they just bought and then they bought on Harvey Elliott because they knew that Mitchell was going to go off, so they just brought a winger on to attack the space where Mitchell wasn't going to be anymore, and then he scored the winner. So like it's so predictable that Klopp made the change before Hodgson even made his change. Like it's not hard. But one thing that Glasner definitely did is not only did he have this change of formation, he just made everyone else play better football.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, even though Mark and Elise were injured for quite a long time where he was our manager, he made everyone else so much better that we didn't miss them as much as we would have in a Hodgson system. But then it also made it so when those two players came back, the football we were playing in the last 5-6 games of the season, we were literally the most informed team in the whole Premier League. Like, we would have taken down City, we could have taken down Arsenal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it says a lot that you've literally got, I'm going to pick out 3 players here: Will Hughes, Nathaniel Clyne, and Joel Ward.
And Chris Richards.
Well, but Chris Richards was already good. But like, with those 3 players, I would have been happy to see them not had their contracts renewed at the end of the season. And now they've gone. Now they are genuine like players who I wouldn't mind having them as depth. So like next season, I wouldn't mind having Will Hughes in and amongst Lerma, Decore, and Wharton. Same with Nathaniel Clyne and Joel Ward. Like, I'm happy that they would be given, if push came to shove, that they could come in. Say like Chris Richards does get injured or Anderson gets injured, then we've already got that depth. Whereas, as I said before, if they didn't get their contracts renewed, I wouldn't have been that bothered.
Yeah. Oh, Rich here says it says a lot when even the Big Six fans didn't even want to play us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, City fans hate playing us at the best of times.
Yeah, even with Hodgson, You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, we spoke about pressing and stuff with Hodgson and how it's just non-existent. And I don't need to tell you about extra stats when it comes to Glasner because the eye test says it all. This is literally like Glasner's first game, and Lerma is goal side of a goal kick that, granted, Trafford mucked it up big time. But still, when have you ever seen us goal side pressing forwards like this? Under Hodgson. You saw the images I showed you
Never.
before. Everyone's sitting back, where they're in our own half, we're chilling. This is literally the first game under Glasner, and I'm sure this was in the first 20 minutes as well of the game.
Yeah, I think so. Because to be honest, I was just so excited in that game, just seeing like a different type of football. It was so nice.
Oh, of course. Here, literally, later on into that game, we're looking at the box. Mitchell, what is he doing? The whole game I was thinking, oh my gosh. Our other fullback here, also in the box. Our defensive midfielder here, just outside the box. 2 strikers at one time. Like thinking, what has happened to this club? Like literally the first game.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to touch quickly on Munoz's positioning then. I think
His
that's
underlapping run.
Yeah, so this is something that I think is really, really essential for a top manager, and that's being adaptable and being able to just change it up a little bit. Because at Frankfurt, his fullbacks never underlapped. So we've now got a situation where he's identified that we got players who are perhaps the wingers are better when they're further to the touchline, and they've got a right wing back who's better underlapping. So he's obviously recognised that and said, okay, rather than doing what I did at Frankfurt, which I know worked, rather than doing that, I'm going to flip it, and it's still working. Do you know what I mean? So He's so good at identifying those things and putting it into practice.
I would say he's even more adaptable, even further, because with Michael Elise, even with certain players, the fullbacks run differently. Like with Michael Elise on the wing, Michael cuts in anyway, so then Munoz goes down the outside. Whereas with Ayew in this example, Ayew likes to stay wide, so then Munoz will go inside because Ayew's wide, and he's sort of implemented the same thing with Mitchell on the other side. With Eze, you go down the outside, but with Edouard, you go on the inside, and that's why Mitchell has scored 3 goals towards the end of the season as a fullback.
Rich brought up a good point. Is that Klein was used to underlap so much as well, and that's one of the prime things that he had at Frankfurt. He always wanted his centre backs to kind of roam forward, similar to how like Sheffield United used to do when they first came up like years ago.
Yeah,
and that's just to gain a numerical advantage in those positions and just trying to unbalance the other team.
And then the difference between Sheffield United doing it and us doing it is they'd done it in a back 4. So then when their centre back went up, they only had 3 at the back. We're doing it as a back 5. So even if our centre back goes up, we still have 4 defenders back there. Even later on into this game, when França gets a penalty, look at the runners going forwards. That is 6 players running forwards, including França, and there's only 1 player in front of the ball here. Like the fact that we've picked up the ball and we've moved so quickly in transition, I don't recognise my club. This is the first game.
What have you done with them?
Yeah, I want Roy back. I lied.
That's got to be a sin bin, surely.
Yeah, let me put myself in the back. 1 sec. Goodbye. Yeah, but even here, the Bournemouth game, which we lost, we're still pressing. You see Hughes here tracking the ball, running here. These guys covering their players. Probably in an ideal world, I think Ayew should have been about here, and that's where he went to pass to get out of this situation. But still, all of a sudden, a certain thing called press triggers just came along. That never happened under Hodgson.
Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know what a press trigger is, that's just like, let's say, like, sometimes it'll just be something that causes us to actually start pressing. So whether it's a heavy touch from an opponent, whether it's maybe as they're making a pass or when they've made a pass or something like that, just a little thing that just, rather than just constantly running all the time like headless chickens, just gives a bit of a more dynamic type of press.
Or even identifying a certain player's weakness, let's say.
Yeah,
so
no, 100%.
So a press trigger against Mitchell could be the second that Mitchell turns inside to use his right foot. If you press him then, because he's not as confident on his right foot as his left foot, that would sort of be a press trigger. The second you see him turn his body onto his right side, then you know he's weaker on that side, then you press to put him under pressure. But I got this wrong. So what happens is Hughes actually runs up to Alex Scott here, dispossesses him. The ball drops to JP, and he has a whack, and he misses, unfortunately. But still, pressing forwards, you make chances. Look, IU got there eventually, but he's a bit slow. Mm-hmm. Also, great hat trick the other day. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. No. I know he did get one, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, great hat trick.
I'll have a look later.
Here in the Bournemouth game again, they're going forwards, but we've still got people back. Munoz, Wharton, they're not in front of him, but they're thereabouts, not making his life easy. You still got Ward, Anderson, and Lerma, who played brilliantly at centre back. By the way, I don't know how he didn't get Player of the Season. That's just me though. But still, even though we're there expressing ourselves, we're there pressing forwards, because you can see Mitchell here, way out of position, and same thing with Hughes. But we've still kept people back, just in case of this situation, which we have done. Here again, as Rich literally just said in the Wolves game, the Klein underlap into loads of space. The pass from Elise was rude though, just to pick up the ball, chip it over his head,
little dink over.
Yeah, but even then, like, Michael could have done many things here. He could have put Klein, like he could have done a nice simple ball in here for Klein. He could have done the spectacular and tried to do a pass here, because he's not moving and he's on the move, so they could have met and scored that way. Or even just a straight across and let Eze have a go. Like, he had many options here, but he had the confidence to do what he did. He cut inside. Yeah. I think he was here, cut inside, lifted the ball over. Klein had a whack, hit off the post, came back to JP, and he just went smack. And the same thing here. Even though no one's really man for man, we're still in close proximity enough to put everyone under pressure. And the fact that we did this, it made it so hard for other teams to pass through us. And it also was the fact that if, let's say, it didn't happen here, but because we've set up like this, it's hard for them to pass through us. However, let's say if Wharton sticks his leg out and gets the ball, if he turns, he's got an option here. He's got an option here.
Rihanna,
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop.
No, Alexa, no.
It's going in the best bits. Roy versus Glasner. TACT
103.
103.
I feel like at this point we could have our own section with like Alexa interrupting us. I know I had a few last year as well.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we shouldn't say her name because she'll start talking to us.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But the fact that we can pick up the ball, we've got options all over the pitch to move forwards to. Like, even JP is like down here, like holding the touchline. So even he could put him through. Like, we've got so many options, and Glasner's just been a complete breath of fresh air to this football club.
Absolutely.
And I really hope that with potentially the business we've done already with Chadi Riyad and Kamada, hopefully he's looking to actually build a proper squad and go for a good finish next season.
Absolutely. And
I think nothing to suggest that won't happen, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will maintain this. in my opinion, the thing that makes a good coach into a great coach is how they react to bad situations. So let's say, for example, we don't win for like 5 games or something like that. How does a manager react to that situation? If they're able to change things up and kind of go again and just evolve their tactics, then they're great. In my opinion, they're a great manager. And so far, so good. Obviously, we maybe still need to hit that. But then, to be fair, we started off pretty poorly under Glasner, and yet we've managed to turn it around and do very well. So you could argue maybe we've already had it. But I'm confident that Glasner is in that bracket of manager. Like, he's able to evolve his tactics if he needs to. If it is going a bit wrong, he is able to change it a little bit, maybe swap out some personnel and just, maybe give it a bit of a different flavour, so on. And I think that's where other managers who should not be named maybe have fallen a bit short last season. Or, the season
What'd
just
you call
gone.
me? Short? Are you mad?
Not you. I'm short too, so short Kings Unite. I firmly believe Glasner's in that bracket of manager, or at least will be eventually. Do you want to see the spreadsheet?
Yes, I am done with everything I need to talk about.
Do you want to see the spreadsheet?
I do.
So before, I guess we just have a little talk about next season then. So Glasner came in on match week. So the Chelsea, no, it wasn't Chelsea game, was it? It was the Burnley game. It was the 26th game. So anything below 26 is going to go.
It's time to go.
So before, obviously, we get there, JC, what do you think?
I've already said that I think that Vieira did better than Hodgson.
Yeah. So what about Glasner?
Glasner did better than Hodgson. I think that's obvious, no?
Oh no, but this will be compared to last season. So it'll be compared to it'll be compared to Vieira / Hodgson in like-for-like games last season.
I think Glasner's still better.
Yeah, I think so too. But we'll see.
Damo says, "Get your spreadsheets out for the lads."
Right. So that one. Then
while you're doing that,
that's it. So there we go.
Rich says, Dan, I disagree, but I don't think we did start poorly under Glasner. We didn't get the points we deserved.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, in terms of point, I mean purely in terms of points. I thought our performances were quality.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I think JC was talking about the stats being really good, and then I thought like the performances did back that up. And I can't believe it. Actually, that was the point I was going to make earlier for all the year dads on Twitter, right? I saw someone. I think it was like after the Luton game where we conceded. I saw someone saying, "Oh, we should revert back to a 4-2-3-1." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
He clearly must watch Palace on the TV because everyone in the stadium was thinking this is a brilliant formation.
Yeah, I was like, "What are you on about, you absolute nutter?" I think I'm missing a game. Oh, damn it. Oh, yeah, that one. Right. So, Glasner. So, like-for-like games, 4.3 better expected goals, 0.7 better expected goals conceded, 13 more goals conceded in those games. No difference in goals conceded. Obviously, a goal difference of 13 and an extra 5 points better off. 5 points better off.
In how many games?
Not
many.
I think it was
14?
5, 10. Yeah, 14. 14 games, which is, that's fantastic. I've also got another spreadsheet, actually. I wasn't planning on getting this one out, actually, but since we're here, let's get it out. So in the time that Glasner took over, we got 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 14, 15, 18, 21, 24 points I've counted. So I've got a spreadsheet of all the average amount of points per game, of all the points per game for each place. So, for example, maybe I do. Maybe I am autistic. I don't know, but
Brother, you are definitely autistic. What the hell is this?
So what's that? 24 points in 14 games. 24 points in 14 games. I've made that 1.71 points per game. If we were to average that next season, which to be fair, we probably won't, that would get us between, on average, 4th and 5th place.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. And even if you just say, like, let's say we didn't get into gear until, let's say, I don't know, let's be generous and say like the City game or something like that, because Bournemouth we were terrible, City we started playing quite well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, 19 points. 19 points, 8 games. So in those last 8 games, we were averaging 2.38 per game, which, as you can see there, on average would make us the champions of England. So all I'm going to say is
Champions, champions, ole, ole, ole.
All I'm going to say is get that double-decker bus sorted now. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, so on that note, there are the... but I mean, do you know what? Even if all right, JC, what would you take next season? Would you take if we finish in the Conference League, or no, actually I'm going to change it. We finish 6th or 5th, or let's say 5th in the Premier League. So then we have done better than Brighton have ever had, and we've got Europa League football, or win the FA Cup. Actually, no, I'm going to change that because FA Cup's a trophy. So I'm going to say, well, definitely FA Cup in that. What about Champions League? If we finish 4th and got Champions League, would you rather that or the FA Cup?
Could I say FA Cup with a cheeky little Conference League as well?
No, but if you win the FA Cup, you get Europa League anyway.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if we have a good season as well, like
I see. Oh, right, finish 7th. Oh, yeah, sure.
FA Cup.
I agree with Richo.
FA Cup.
For me, we could finish 17th, and I would still say FA Cup. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know if you got anything more to say, but I mean, I'm ready to maybe just have a quick talk about maybe next season.
Yeah,
and maybe some honest predictions and stuff as well.
Yeah, I think let's talk about what we think will happen next season. I hope that we can carry on this this form that's going on and this sort of momentum that we've got, and I'm very happy with how we're looking to recruit and how potentially we've recruited 2 players even before the window's opened.
Yeah,
like this is something that's so alien to me that I actually had to start Transfer Weekly 3 weeks early because this never happens.
Yeah,
normally we do all our business in the last week, like the season's already started and we're still doing business.
Yeah, and actually, just because I remember this comment from Lord Everything Trains. Lord Everything Trams. I think the only reason we haven't is just because I don't think we can until the window's open.
Yeah, the window opens on the 14th, so
yeah,
2 days.
Right. Yeah,
and also the our new front sponsor's just been released. That's a whole new stream. That's a absolute shit show. I don't know if you've seen it. Our new main sponsor.
Sorry, the
gambling
sponsor.
again.
Yeah. Sorry,
It's gambling again. I think it's a Vietnamese gambling site. It's only got 1 follower on all social medias, which is Crystal Palace. So it's just dodgy through and through. And
Yeah.
I
And
would
yeah,
rather, I would rather just stick with Cinch, man. Cinch looked nice on the shirt anyway.
yeah. And I think the problem with it's not even just a gambling company as well. I haven't done loads of research on it, so if I'm a bit wrong here, but they also use let's just say some very lewd pictures of they
Yeah.
use lewd pics of women.
Anime women, bruv.
Yeah.
So not something that I'd want to be promoting as a football club, not me.
Yeah, and I think, and also as well, there's the element. Okay, even if you're morally, I mean, I'm going to do a short on this once we get off this. But in my opinion, as well, even if you don't care about the moral side of it, I think it'll look terrible on the kit.
Oh, of course, all gambling ones look awful.
And the thing is,
Man Bet, dreadful. Manson, dreadful.
I don't know. Yeah, awful.
Even that gambling one we had on the sleeve last year, that was awful as well.
And when we're going into a season where we've all got a lot of high hopes, in my opinion, this would be a kit that potentially I would actually consider buying. I don't want that ruined by a crappy sponsor on it.
Yeah, because I was originally thinking it was going to be one of the sleeve sponsors, thinking it's crap, but oh well. Yeah. But if it's the main one, the thing is, I quite like Cinch as a main shirt sponsor. I don't think it's too intrusive, and I think it actually looks quite nice.
Yeah,
especially when last season, where you could actually change the color of the sponsor as well, so it wasn't just purple. You could make it white. So on the black kit, it was white. It looked really nice. Yeah,
exactly. And I think you need a sponsor like that. But anyway, going back to just some of the players, just because I've seen I agree with Evan. Do I think Eze will go? I don't know, To be honest with you, I think this end of the season, I think you can kind of say to both Eze and Elise, oh, you know what? There is actually a chance that if you both stay, we could actually get into Europe and you'll play European football. And in my opinion, I think Eze is more likely to go this summer than Elise, just because, in my opinion, Elise is a bit younger, so I think you can kind of afford that time. And also, I don't think the right teams are really interested in Elise.
No, I think Madrid and City, I wouldn't be opposed to them going. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone else, I would. But I am happy with how we've done the contracts, though, because even though it is a release clause, it's a very complicated release clause. And pardon me, from my understanding, is that how the process is that you have to make a deal with Palace before you can even speak to Elise. Whereas normally the process is call Elise, do you want to come? He says yes or no, and then you talk to the club. But apparently, so it's the way that you have to agree a deal with Palace first, and then you can speak to him. And apparently that is of Elise's wish. Elise would rather it be that way, so that when all the clubs come in, he can just pick it on the table. But the one stipulation that Parish has put in there is that even though his release clause is £65 million, that has to be paid in full as a one-time payment. There's no payment plan. And any team that's suffering with FFP, PSR, they cannot just do that. So that wipes Chelsea out of the question straight away, and probably Man United as well.
And to be honest with you, from Elise's point of view, we know he's well advised. He was already rejected Chelsea last season, and I'd argue Chelsea are in a worse shape now than they were last season.
Yeah, especially if they still have Pochettino, that's a different story.
But Maresca, a guy who nearly bottled the championship with that team. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think it's going to end in tears, personally. And obviously, United is very.
Yeah.
They're not much better than Chelsea. Well, they're worse. I mean, they got Europa League football, but again, I think Elise is good enough to go to City next season. To be honest with you.
Oh, of course. I think Elise is good enough to go there now. Yeah. But they've just bought that Savio, haven't they?
Yeah. So have they? I didn't know they bought Savio. Good player, Savio. Yeah. The Girona one, yeah. To be where's he's gone City?
Yeah.
To be fair, I think Girona are part owned by City Group anyway. Yeah, so are. That makes sense.
I think it's only £40 million, so they definitely got a nice little discount there.
Yeah. I think but I think the crux of us talking about that in terms of next season, in my opinion, I think if we got rid of Gay, if Gay goes for a decent amount of money, use that money to build. And I like that we're building first rather than waiting for the money to come.
Well, that's why we took a loan out, isn't it? We took a loan out so we could buy players before we sell them to then pay off the loan.
Yeah, and I think that will save us money in the long term because, well, clubs, if they know you've got money, they're going to charge you a bit more.
And I think the last thing that I'd probably want to talk about is the potential, as you said, the Mark sale, and that we're looking at LaCroix or whatever his name is. But we are also looking at. I think you said it in your short, but I think I tweeted it as well earlier. That we're looking at other people and we're putting the rumors out there that we're looking at other people instead of him because he's too expensive to drive his price down a little bit because he's only got 1 year left on his deal. And for a player like that, you want to cash in as much money as possible if he's not signing because he's a serious player. Yeah,
100%. And because we've done that in the past as well. Like, I remember when we signed Sacco, as in Mamadou, not Bakary. There was very strong rumours that we were going to go in for Mangala instead at City at the time, but we didn't. We used that as a ploy to actually get Sacco just for a slightly cut price.
Yeah,
because we knew that Liverpool wanted to get rid, and obviously, again, like JC just said, he's only got a year in his contract. They want to get rid.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to talk about next season? Like, have you got anything that you think we where do you think we'll finish next season? It's a big stretch to ask.
Yeah, it's very early. Yeah, very early prediction. I'm gonna say, I think definitely top 10.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely top 10. Whether we'll finish 7th, I mean, it's a big push, really. It's a big push. Hopefully, my mind will change. But I think in terms of like an in-depth one. Maybe that's something we can discuss
later.
Yeah. But I think for now, right now, before the window opens, I'm going to say 9th. What were you
I'm gonna say 8th, and I'm gonna be praying for an absolute madness to happen in the European competitions, so that the European spots go down to 8th.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because if certain teams win Champions League, win the FA Cup, win the Conference League, and it all happens, then it will go down quite a ways. I think you can actually get it to 9th if all goes correct. So
I think I think
you can get Conference League at 9th if it's a madness.
Yeah, because I think it's something like if the Champions League winner finished 6th, then you would be. I think it would kind of work like that. I think.
Yeah, so I'll say 8th and hope that a madness happens in Europe this season.
Nice.
But
cool.
Guys, thank you very, very much for watching. It's a much longer tactical than normal, but I thought that it was definitely necessary.
Yeah, lots to talk about.
Happens. Lots to talk about. Big up everyone. Like, share, subscribe as always. Dan, big up yourself. Always like
big up JC.
Potentially, some of these might happen for some Euro games. But it'll only be for the knockouts or like some really interesting games. It won't be for no group stages, don't you worry. But we've got some more content coming for you guys. Stay posted. We'll post on Twitter like an hour before we go live. So watch what happens, really. Thanks for the support on the shorts, as always. And guys, thank you very much for watching. And as always, up the palace.
Up the palace.
Eagles.